Hey everybody. Hey everybody, we are back. This is Franklin Township's Fall Festival, and I am Gary Moore with Journey More Often. We are podcasting live on social media right now, so be careful what you do in the background and what you say that's in earshot of the microphone, but I don't think any of that's going to happen. Hey, I just wanted to catch up with you guys. I want to let you know there's a raffle at 3 o'clock this afternoon. They're going to be raffling off a lot of stuff, and there's like 4 gift baskets with wine. There's the state police have a goodie bag in there. And, you know, it's a lot of their merch, which is like, I think there's a Frisbee and a shirt in the merch bag. There are some things from, there's, what do you call it? There's a Charbroil grill. There's a 5-gallon bucket from Tractor Supply. There's a lot of stuff getting raffled off at 3 o'clock. And the greatest part about it, this year you don't have to be present to win. As long as you put your phone number on or your address or some way for us to be able to find you, you will get your prize even if you're not here to hear your name called. Yeah, that's pretty cool, and that's a great thing to add in because, hey, you don't want to, be down there at the bouncy castle with your kids and then get your name called, and then you can't, you can't collect. So the good news is, and it's free. By the way, it's free. Go to the raffle tent. It's over there, okay? So if you look at where I'm pointing, okay, it's over there. The raffle tent's over there. The tickets are free, and all you got to do is sign up, and you could get free stuff, okay? And there's some really good stuff in there, okay? So that's great. And in the meantime, we have Paul from the Franklin Township Historic Commission, right?
Yeah, hi there, Gary.
Yeah, hi. So I'm glad you could join us. We talked about a little. We did a little communication by email. Try to get see what we wanted to talk about. We've got a few points that we'd like to pick up. How long's the planning or the Historic Commission been in operation?
So we date back to about 2002. The interest in the township history was sparked when a historic building was lost in the center of Kemblesville.
Yes.
And so we were established, and we've been around since then. Subsequently, there was also a historic district that was created based on Kemblesville.
Yep.
Which serves to help preserve the historic look
of the village.
Yes. But it's only concerned with the exterior of the building, so there are no restrictions on what property owners can do on the outside of the building.
Okay.
On the inside of the building.
I'm sorry.
And we're really very open to the needs of the property owners for renovations and other things of that sort. And the Historical Architectural Review Board merely functions as an advisory board for the supervisors, so the last decision ultimately resides with them.
So you make suggestions to keep it villagey, if you will, in layman's terms.
Exactly.
To keep it looking
to preserve the
like
historic interest of the village. So, because I think a really interesting moment for me was one night when my wife and I were driving back in the middle of the snowstorm, and the village was very quiet. The traffic was very light.
That must have been beautiful.
The snow. It was. You could see just how historic the whole village was. But
yeah, I mean, I've driven through Kemblesville a lot, and it really is a cool little village kind of setup. Mm-hmm. It'd be here's a plug, for like even some cool sidewalks and maybe some shops in there, just for fun. Make it I think further up north in Chester County is St. Peter's Village.
Right.
There's not a whole lot to it, but it's fun to walk, and see that kind of stuff and to show off the village part of it. And if I'm correct, the board and all the people who work with the commission, they're all volunteers.
Yeah.
Right? So
no, we're all volunteers. And we're actually always looking for people who are interested in township history who would like to come out and serve on the board. You have to be appointed by the supervisors. But frankly, we're always looking for a live one. So nobody's gonna. We're always welcoming anybody who wants to come out and help us out. We do a whole range of things. We sponsor talks with the New London Area Historical Society. We do that 4 times a year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So in November, we have a talk by Sarah Beth Kohut that's going to be on covered bridges in the sort of Avon Grove region.
Did I see one in the summer? I hope this is correct. Did I see a talk in the summer about the Mason-Dixon line? Or that wasn't in Franklin Township?
That was in Oxford, and I shout out here to the Oxford Area Historical Society.
Yeah.
They maybe do a dozen talks a year. They have really good talks, and I think they're currently hosting them out at the retirement community that's out there, the Ware.
Yes, the Ware Presbyterian.
Right.
Yeah, the retirement
They
community.
have a nice setup out there, and they have a lot of wonderful talks.
So, so there's communication between, across the board, so to speak. So you guys can pick each other's brains if you need, additional thoughts on a particular scenario.
True. And the interesting thing is that we don't always get a lot of overlap in who comes to listen to our talks, who goes to listen to theirs. So we often share the same speakers, because people won't necessarily get up there to hear what they have to say.
True.
Sarah Beth actually did speak up there over a year ago on the covered bridges, and as I said, she'll be doing it November 14th.
Covered bridges, so that's a Pennsylvania thing. It's not only in Pennsylvania, but it's definitely a Pennsylvania thing.
No, really.
And there's still a number of covered bridges that are preserved in the area here.
Yeah, we lost one on the Big Elk.
Yeah, I remember.
But it's going to be rebuilt. The state and the county have committed to rebuilding it as a covered bridge. So they're going to do their best to reconstruct it in the manner in which it was originally built.
Wow. Yeah, because that's a tough one. And people don't realize when they originally built them, they built them to cross the water, but they didn't always have the same flood levels back then than they do now, or they weren't anticipating those flood levels, either one. So sometimes when a really large flood happens, it can wipe out a bridge like that.
Right.
Did they find, were they able to find parts of the bridge that they could, use, or was it kind of like a lost cause? Cause
I think it was fundamentally a lost cause.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I heard about some of them washing up in various locations, but very often it's difficult to find good timber that can be reused. The waters really chop it up, and it's
especially in a flood situation, it damages the wood a lot. So, you're lucky if you find like a post or something that you can incorporate in the new one, and then you have a plaque next to it and say this came from the original bridge. You're lucky if you can do that.
It will be interesting to see if they did find anything. It's kind of nice just for the spirit of it.
But that's neat. So that's the kind of stuff that you guys help out with. Is that's in Franklin Township, right?
No, that's it's between New London and Elk.
Okay.
But actually,
but it's close by, folks. It's really close.
Right. And the other thing that happens too is actually there's a lot of networking that goes on between different historical commissions. So I actually did receive a call from the Chester County Planning Commission asking me if I had any information.
So, hey,
about
Paul, what are your thoughts on this? Right?
Well, not so much my thoughts, but if I had pictures, if I had something that would aid in their restoring the building.
Okay, documentation.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did not. But if I had, I would have been more than happy to share them.
Again, though, unfortunately, there usually isn't because, everybody's like, oh, the bridge is there.
Yeah.
And then nobody takes pictures, because it's always there.
And it's funny, even if you're looking for pictures of old houses, very often the only time you'll find those pictures is when somebody's taking a picture of their family and the house will be behind
It's in the background.
Because people didn't, they may have been proud of their house, but they didn't take pictures of their house.
Yeah. I mean, I don't take pictures of my house, Not that it's going to be historical, but maybe someday. But,
After 50 years.
I don't take pictures of it. But all right, so you guys have now. Do you have like guidelines that are on the web? As part of the Franklin Township website.
So the Historical Commission really doesn't do that. That's the Historical Architectural Review Board, and so What we're oriented to in the Historical Commission is popularizing the history of the area.
Okay.
Getting out
Okay.
there. So, for example, we have a website where people can access very good images of old maps of the area, where they can access talks and other information
Right.
about the area. And we have we've scanned old postcards so that you can see what at least parts of the area look like around the turn of the last century. So we're talking about early 1900s.
Yes.
And then we, produce our own brochures. For example, we're out here today, and I've got a brochure that's entitled Ben Franklin and Franklin Township,
cool.
The Real Story. And this will
Right.
tell you why we came to be named after Benjamin Franklin.
Now, where can we find this? If they're not going to come and see me right now and get it from me right now, where can they find it?
So there are two places. They can come down to our booth, or they can go online to our website, which can be found through the Franklin Township website, and they can either find this short version or they can find the 21-page talk that I gave several years back.
There you go.
Will allow you can spend an evening
mine?
reading that. Yes, you may have
okay,
that.
thank you.
And then we have a new one on surveying the Mason-Dixon line, which forms the southern boundary of our township.
Yes.
And we have one Mason-Dixon marker in the township, which is located in the Big Elk Creek State Park.
That's pretty cool.
And so it's the story of the surveying of it is in fact very complicated. People think surveyors go out there and they shoot a straight line with their theodolite, but because the Mason-Dixon line is actually a very gentle curve over the map, what they did was they would survey a straight line and then for about 11 or 22 miles, and then they would figure how much that straight line deviated from the actual...
The offset from the...
And then they would figure out the offsets, and then they'd mark the offsets.
They would correct it with the marking of the offset.
Right, so it was really more of a mathematical and astrological problem than a straight surveying problem.
It was pretty cool. So I attended a seminar on the surveying of the Mason-Dixon line. So what you're saying rings really well with me. And what a lot of people don't realize, in particular with the Mason-Dixon line, they had up at Stargazer's.
Right, Stargazer stone.
So that's the stone that Mason and Dixon used.
Well, they actually set that as a reference stone.
Exactly. But they used that to set the reference to, and they were looking at the determination of where what do they call that line? The horizontal line.
Oh, So they came out from Philadelphia.
Yes.
About 30 miles.
Right.
And they had to recalculate their latitude, and then they came down about 15 miles into what is now a spot in the White Clay Creek State Park in Delaware, which is marked by a monument that commemorates what was called the Postmark West.
Yeah, yep.
And then from the Postmark West, which was 15 miles south of the latitude of the... it was the southernmost point of Philadelphia, which happened to be the north wall on the south side of what was then Cedar Street's now South Street.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they from the Postmark West, they basically surveyed some 200 miles all the way, not quite to the current westernmost point of Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yeah, right. They didn't go all the way across.
Right.
Which is crazy, right? But there wasn't a need to do that then.
No, there wasn't a need. In fact, but they went much further than the border of Maryland.
Yes.
So the last stretch of it was just the border of Pennsylvania and Virginia.
Yeah, so
now West Virginia.
What a lot of people don't realize is that the whole reason the Mason-Dixon line got established is because Lord Calvert and William Penn, actually second Lord Calvert, I think, the next generation.
Yeah, it was...
Maryland was given to his father, and then he kind of inherited that birthright, if you will. And then William Penn came in the area, and they're like, William Penn said, "Oh, we'll put the line here." And the Lord Calvert says, if you actually look at the deed that was given by King Charles, I think it was.
No, it
was King. Anyway, so
I think his was James the First, I think.
Yeah. So okay.
No, maybe even Charles the First. I don't know. My English history it gets muddy back.
But it gets crazy because the whole thing is so convoluted. Because if you looked at the property that the Calverts were actually bestowed by the king, it's way bigger, and in the property actually includes Delaware,
right?
and right now we'd be in Maryland.
Right.
If the original line had been cited.
So would most of Philadelphia. It goes up to about North Philadelphia Station.
And William Penn argued successfully that it shouldn't be, it shouldn't include Philadelphia. It should be below Philadelphia. He argued that successfully. Lord Calvert said, okay. And, that was the end of that, right? But I can tell you this, and I need to get you some information because I've actually done a presentation and a lot of research on the wedge.
Okay.
And how the wedge came about, because it includes all that. So you look at all that, and that the whole thing got really, really crazy. And then you were talking about the Delaware counties. They were the Delaware counties before Delaware was Delaware. Right. Delaware didn't actually become Delaware until the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
But before then, they were known as the Delaware counties. And William Penn was like, hey, I'd like to, participate. So the original Delaware counties are all part of William Penn's holdings at one point.
Right.
And then he kind of gave them up. Anyway, so long story short, I will have to give you that information because I know, and I've got a lot of old maps and pictures that work in that as well. And then, by the way, there's a hike that you can do.
Right. To the Art Corner Monument?
Yeah, to the Art Corner. So if you want to get to it from Pennsylvania, so if you live in Pennsylvania, you want to go to a Delaware park, you're going to have to pay an entrance fee, folks. But you can get there from the Art Corner Trail, which is off of Art Corner Road, off of, Chambers Rock Road.
Right.
So if you go to Chambers Corner Monument, it's only a 3-mile loop.
Yeah, it's a nice walk.
And you see like a lot of history all at the same time. So that's pretty cool, actually. I've done that. We've walked that trail a few times ourselves. But let's get back to Kimblesville. Kimblesville is not Kimblesville, right? We once saw a sign that said Kimblesville coming in. Welcome to Kimblesville. So tell us about that.
So Kimblesville has been known as Kimbleville, as Kimblesville, as Kimblesville. The Kimball family or Kemble family tended to have a bit of variation in how they spelled their name. The story goes that different branches didn't get along. But the real reason why Kimblesville is named Kimblesville is because George Kimball was the postmaster. And in those days, in the very early days of the post office, you could name the post office. And so it's originally more of a post office name than anything else. And so you will see people who say they had a, they were in Kimblesville, actually, and you'll look at an old map and you see that they're not in Kimblesville, but their post office was Kimblesville. Well,
now it's Lincoln University, I think, right?
The Kimblesville post office survived.
They do. It still is. You're right.
But it's a P.O. box only post office, and so the township's divided between Landenberg and Lincoln University. So up here, it's Lincoln University, and then down toward Kimblesville, it's Landenberg. Yeah.
So Landenberg and Lincoln University are huge zip codes.
Yeah. So they're
huge, right? Because there's not a lot of people here. So you don't need like 10 zip codes just because you have a lot of real estate. You have you crunch it down a little bit. There's only a few thousand people in each of those zip codes, right?
Yeah. No. And the other thing, for example, now the Kimblesville post office, which is fairly new, includes also the old New London post office boxes. So it all actually hosts 2 post offices.
No.
Yeah, if you go in there, there's
this is why you talk to people, right?
There are 2 sets of post office boxes. There used to be right in the center of New London, and they realized they could expand the facility they had down here and have a modern facility that they owned, and so they did that. Yeah,
because you drive right. It's still on Appleton, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but if you live in London, you were not very happy about having to drive all the way to Kimblesville for your mail.
Of course not.
Yeah.
So they sunsetted the
location.
Location.
But you kept your address, but they moved your mail pickup into Kimblesville.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So Well, and that's how things happen, right? That's part of history, right?
Yeah.
That's part of history, and that's what you guys do. You research this stuff. How did this happen? How did this occur? So, what other things do you think we would benefit in hearing? Because first, I have been, I've been educated because I didn't realize the difference between the board, and the actual, the review board and the what do you call it?
The historic commission.
The commission, so there's different entities and they have different functions, and I didn't realize that.
Right. So we have actually a number of different boards in the township. So
yes.
We also have a planning commission, and we also have a parks and recreation and open space board.
Yeah. Which they're killer. I talked to Mary earlier, and oh my God, I mean, I love what we're doing here in our township. As a resident of the township itself, it's really cool to see how much has happened, but it's also preserving at the same time.
Right.
So, it's one of those things where, okay, you added this park. This is a great park. You add this park, but then you've also gotten these other preserves that you could just kind of hike in nature. So, Franklin Township has been incredibly aggressive at preserving the township as a township.
Yeah, it's been done in a number of different ways.
Proper growth.
Yeah.
Merged with with the growth of parks and
open space. There's been a lot of farm preservation, which is something that's really nice because it first off, it keeps the land in agriculture.
Right.
And agriculture really is the most historic profession in the township. That people moved out here to have a farm.
Yes. And I'm personally, we have farming in our family. I'm a beekeeper, but that's not really a farm. Technically it is, but on the other hand, a farm is when they, till the land, or they have cattle or something like
right.
that. To me, that's what it is. But so all the things that farms do, I don't actually have an issue with. The tractor running, or it could be that when they turn the manure in the spring or the fall.
Although
everybody doesn't like that.
When they manure behind your house on the 4th of July, it's a little intense.
It is intense.
It goes away after a day.
It is very temporary, and that's the point, right? It's very temporary. So yeah, I mean, it's a shame if you have allergies, but on the other hand, it's controlled. You know what's going to happen, so you just either go away for that time period or stay indoors if you're able, and that way you can be least affected by whatever's happening, because if you want to eat food. We got to have farms,
right?
That's the way it is, because they haven't found, you've seen them, right? You've seen the, they can make food now with the laser projectors. I'm like,
the sort of Star Trek.
I'm going to have me a steak from like Cat and Matthew's farm or something like that, right? So.
No, I prefer the old-fashioned one.
Exactly. So but you have to have the land. You have to have the ability to farm that land in how that works. And I think that helps, because what it does is it kind of grandfathers them in and says, hey, we're here to stay because you need us. We need to both be here, and that's the important part, right? We've got a family. I think there's a banner on the pickleball courts, right? Where for the Hawking family, they've been here in the township for over 100 years. I mean, that's a long-standing.
They've been farming the same piece of land,
right? Yeah. So it's not even they've been in Franklin Township. They've been farming the same land for at least 5, maybe 6 generations in the family, and that's saying something, because that's not easy. Farming life is not an easy life. I've talked to my uncle and cousins, and I know really, really well firsthand that farming can be difficult. So to preserve the farms, I think or to put them in agricultural preserves, I think is really helpful, because what it does is it allows them to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm going to stay, and that preserves.
You also receive payment for the development rights.
Correct.
So it helps sustain the farm.
Exactly. And so and then that viewscape that people love,
right.
Because if they have the right to develop it, and they don't sell those for the, for the, what do you call it? The preserve, what do they call that? Agricultural preserve.
Right.
If they don't do that, they can develop that. And they have a right to develop that by law. You can't change that. So, what it does, though, is it puts that into the ag pres, and then everybody's like next door is like looking at that farm from now until whenever, right?
Correct.
And I think
so. Even if the family should at some point decide they were no longer interested in farming, it would stay a farm.
Right, unless they bought those rights back, which is highly unlikely.
I don't think you can.
Well, yeah, the agreement may be such that you can't. I know in some jurisdictions they actually do allow you to buy them back, but they create a price prohibition, if you will. Whatever the cost you got is not what you're going to buy it back for.
Yeah, so land values change.
Yeah, the land values change, and they want to discourage you from buying it back. So they're saying, okay, we're going to jack up the price so that this is a permanent deal. But it really does benefit everyone. I mean, the reality of it really does benefit everybody. And the farmers are not required to do that. So now we got into a little bit of Farm Bureau discussion.
This is purely their own choice.
Yeah,
family has to want to do that.
Exactly. So but again, and tying that back into the historic nature of the township, this unprecedented push towards the preservation of land in one form or another is an amazing accomplishment by both staff members and volunteers that are in Franklin Township. I mean, you don't see this everywhere.
No, I think Chester County has been particularly active in trying to preserve.
Well, southern Chester County in particular, to the point where there's been some pushback and saying, "Hey, all the money's going here," and Chester County's like, "Yeah, but those guys are putting in a lot of applications."
Also that's where
it's cheaper land too.
Yeah, but the thing to remember too is, you're calling it, it's not just an ag issue. The viewscape, those historic open space farmland are part of our historic heritage.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I was trying to say is that, hey, from a historic perspective, this benefits like everyone. And why not? Everybody loves, open space. Right? If we weren't all here, you just see open space, right?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of that scenario. So, all right, we gotta let the band go at about 2:30. But Paul, this has been great.
It's been nice talking to you again.
It's been great talking to you. If you have any questions, look him up. I think your information or the information to get in touch with the Historic Commission, Franklin Township Historic Commission, is on the web.
Yes.
If you're Googling Franklin Township, make sure you hit Franklin Township, PA, or put in Chester County, because there's more than one across the.
Yeah, there's a really big one in New Jersey. Yeah. You might hit them first.
So Franklin, Ben Franklin had influence in a lot of places. So so Google that and make sure you get PA or Chester County. In the meantime, do you have a booth? Did you say?
Yeah, we have a booth here today, and we've got our flyers on history. We have large maps of the township. So you can try and see where the land where you live now, what it looked like in 1883.
I have one of those. I actually have an original.
Nice. In
my house. Some guy broke up a book, and I was like, "Can I just buy the whole book?" He goes, "No, because I can sell it for more money." And I'm like, "Dude, seriously." And I'm like, so I bought 3 of the pages. I bought Landenberg and I bought Franklin Township, and it came with some other townships. But
yeah, we also have a brochure on the history of the township and information on the upcoming talk. So I encourage people to stop by.
Yeah, because definitely. So you've got the upcoming talk is the
November 14th.
Okay, and that's Ben Franklin and Franklin Township Real Story. You've got that and the surveying of the Mason-Dixon line. Right. These are like short reads, so you don't have to worry about like spending like 2 days trying to figure out how to get it all read. But they're great information, and it tells you a lot about how Franklin Township came to be. So thanks again, Paul. Appreciate it very much. Me. And we'll probably be talking again. I'll send you that information on the wedge.
Okay, thank you.
And you can do with it what you want. You'll be like, well, I don't want to do anything with that. But I think you'll find it fascinating because it essentially talks a lot about the area and how all that transpired.
Okay. So send it along.
All right, we're gonna sign off, and hey, we're gonna take this to the next scenario, which is the band. The band's on the stage. Enjoy their music. They're pretty good, by the way. You heard what is it? Wednesday night. Something. Anyway, so thanks everybody. We'll be back again at 3 o'clock for the raffle. Remember, you don't have to be here for the raffle, but you might want to be here because there's a lot of stuff being raffled off. All right, thank you. Thank you.